welcome to Hack the Real Size podcast with Heather, Ashley, and myself, Keira. And tonight, I'm not even going to pretend I'm not going to massively fangirl this one because everyone who knows me, I mean, they saw how bad I was with MJ Bassett, and this is just tonight. We have Montana-based actor Philip Winchester. He is best known for Chicago Justice, The Player. None of those are important. I'm sorry. None of those are important because he is also best known as playing Michael Stonebridge in Strike Back, which, as people will know, is literally my favorite show ever. So thank you so much for coming tonight. I can't deny the fangirl, and I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It was my favorite too. I mean, every time I do interviews, you meet people, it's always the Strike Back fans who are like, oh, I mean, it was a unicorn show. It really was.
Yes, it really was. And I can remember when we first started watching it way back when, and we watched the first episode and we were like, that was like a film. Every episode had the high production quality of a film. And I don't think 10 years ago that was happening. So yeah, I think it was groundbreaking.
It was really, it really was. We had no idea what we were in for either. I mean, Sully and I screen tested with each other in London at Spotlight Studio, and they ran a few guys through, and then they put Sully and I together again, and then they did it again. And we were like, okay, maybe this is a good sign. And then it was sort of radio silence for a while, and they told us that it was Sully and I who were going to do it. And I remember that first episode. I remember getting to catching the bomb and things like that in the hotel in those episodes.
God, that scene.
This could be really fun, or we could be jumping the shark right away. I actually argued with Dan Percival, our director. I was like, catching a bomb? Are you mental? And he's like, trust me, it'll be great. It'll be great. And people really remember that.
Yes. We watched that episode. We were like, rewind. Oh my God, when he does the jump and then it's, it worked. Well done, director. He knew what he was talking about. So we will start with a few simple questions. I will probably throw some Strike Back related stuff in there. The girls might not bang on about it so much, but I'm just gonna.
We're gonna let Keira have her Strike Back moment. That's fine.
We'll let her talk over us and kind of stop. I'll start a question. She'll be like, "Oh, but," and I'll be like,
wait, yeah.
I will mute my mic and sit on my hands. Okay, when I'm done, I'll be done. Whatever. Like, not gonna happen. Right. Okay. Start off nice and simple. Yep. What music do you listen to when you're getting ready for a night out? I mean, I know we all have young kids. Night outs aren't often, but back in the day. Before COVID, before kids.
So even pre-Spotify, because that's how old I am, it would have been, I liked Zeppelin, CCR. I like Dolly Parton. I kind of like everything. We have a really eclectic mix. So in my office here, there you go. So this is my. That's the that was a present from my wife one year, and so we like to come in and listen to records and just hang out and sip whiskey and things like that.
You may have enjoyed our. Sorry.
Old rock and roll for sure. So rock and roll, like anything like that. And now we listen to. I mean, with the kiddos, it's mostly. The last month has been Encanto.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, I'm feeling you that.
Yeah, and Vivo's everywhere. So
we're a big Vivo family too.
Yeah, if anything, if we can get away from the kid stuff and listen to anything, just anything that's not a Disney, it's kind of a real treat. Because the kids, it's like, they're happy. So if they're not crying, you're happy.
Right.
Pretty much, yes.
That was my quick answer. This will be a short interview. You get 3 questions. I take half an hour with each question, and that's it. Okay, sorry.
We love it because it says so much. We find out so much about guests when they do that. If there's some guests we've had that have answered literally straight away, we're like, a bit more.
We don't know what to do now. Next, and we're like,
rock and roll, go.
We don't know what to do with them. We like talkers, as you can tell. Who do you think would win in a fight between Scott and Stonebridge?
Oh my gosh. I mean,
say it. You know you want to say it.
I do think it would be Michael just because he's a little more disciplined.
He's very clinical.
He's very clinical. He is, and as we saw, he has a little red. You push his button, and that's it. He's got a little button, and yeah. I think Michael would, but I think, you know, in like a fight to the death, knowing that if they knew each other, like if it was actually Michael and Stonebridge fighting each other, they'd figure it out. They'd figure something out.
Of course. I mean, they'd never do fight to death. I mean, I don't think Sally's gonna watch this, but if he does, somebody's just started a bit.
That would be a reason for he may. You never know.
You never know. So we know at least one of your children is Sith because of the red lightsaber. Yes. Are you Sith or are you Jedi? Is it a family thing, or are you going against her?
I would say Jedi, just because I grew up on those original ones. Like those were actually like core memories. I remember being, I must have been about 7 or 8 years old, and I was in the back room at a friends of my parents, right? And they were having dinner. It was in the UK, and they said, "Oh, right, we'll put a movie on for you and keep you quiet." And I was like, "Yeah, great." And then they put A New Hope on. Never seen it, and it blew my tiny little mind. And then my Uncle Brian had the box set of New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and The Return of the Jedi. And I watched them religiously. We lived there for a year. We lived in London for a year in 89, 90. And man, I think that like the kind of like the real, like the hero's journey and the warrior ethos that is really in the bones of those shows. I became a huge Star Wars fan, and Jedi, 100% Jedi. So, I don't think, was Sith even mentioned in the first 3, or was that when they did the ones nobody talks about, the bad ones?
I don't
the ones that came out in like the mid 90s when it was like, dude, Star Wars is out again, and they were fucking shocking.
Yeah, they were not good.
The Jar Jar Binks ones, you know, where we were like, what were you thinking?
I can't. Even my kids that watch it now, it's like not there, and they're 6 and 4, and they're like, this isn't.
Even they know, right? Even they know.
They know it's not good. They're like, give me the
Ewoks.
Or the new ones. They like
the new ones.
Yeah.
No, the old Ewoks, not the new ones. Yeah, they're like creepy.
Yeah, the Ewoks were amazing. That was amazing, wasn't it? So so Jedi, definitely. but James, she's a Sith all the way.
Was it her lightsaber? Was it?
Yeah, she's my spirited 3-year-old. We just say she's spirited.
Oh, she's the second child. Yeah. My second child's an asshole.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah. I love her, but damn, she's
Oh,
yep.
Oh, she is. Everything we thought we did right with the first one.
Yes.
She's the antithesis of that. And so you're kind of like, this worked, we'll try it again. And she's just like, she doesn't give a shit. She doesn't give a shit about anything.
Yeah. You go, oh my God, I'm actually a really good.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. The first one came along and you're like, oh, this is a parenting thing. Yes. The second one comes along and you're like, oh no, it was just luck. Right.
And you kind of go like, you know, we have friends who are really into birth order and things like that. I was like, that's bollocks, birth order stuff. And then you're like, well, maybe it might be there might be something true in that. There might be little bits of truth in that.
Well, I always say, I'm like, our oldest sucked up all the calm genes, all like the rationalization. He like sucked them all up. And by the time we got to our third, God bless them, he's just like, like, I mean, all over it. Yeah.
Okay, so wait, so you have 3. Mm-hmm. Ashley, how many? 2.
I have 2, and currently 1 is in here.
Yes.
Which one?
And Keira, you have 3 or 2?
No.
2. No. Just 2. How old are they?
They're 3 and 7.
Oh shit. Okay, we're okay.
We're in the swamps together right now.
And mine are two girls.
Not me. Mine's about to be 19, 18, and 16. So I'm like,
you're in another league.
I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm like,
yes. And we're going to be calling you going, how did you deal with this?
Yeah. Like, what
deal with? Keira, so 3 and 7. What was I going to ask? Oh, I can't remember what I was going to ask. Oh, you guys will appreciate this. So we took our friends to, there's a beautiful place down the road called Chico Hot Springs, which is this place in the middle of nowhere. It's beautiful. It's a old school Montana resort. and it has a natural hot springs that they fill the pool up with every day. And we had this snowstorm come through yesterday, so we're sitting outside in the hot springs, in the pool, blah, blah, blah. And James, my youngest, my 3-year-old, we'll go into her name in a minute. She's coming over and she's like, Dad, I want to play. I want to do this. I'm like, yeah, okay. So we're throwing her around this, that, and the other thing. And the pool's packed because it's beautiful and it's snowing and there's lots of tourists there. So James does that thing where you're dunking her and you're playing with her and she comes up and she goes, and she chunders everywhere in this pool. And it's a natural hot spring. There's no chlorine in it or anything like that. So it's like, so it was, and I was amazed. My wife was amazing. We had like 2 beer cups and we literally went splush, and the beer was out of the pool and we went loop, and we scooped up the chunder. I don't think anybody noticed. I don't think anybody noticed that
Bravo.
James had.
Bravo.
I looked at my wife and I was like, that was some parent ninja shit right there.
That was parenting win,
really
definitely.
Yeah. But you guys will appreciate that, because there's some pools you go to where they're like, fuck, the whistle blows and everyone's out of the pool. And here it was like a couple people saw it and they went, yeah, good job, good reaction. Like, and you knew they were parents, because otherwise it would be out, like in Los Angeles, that would have been like violent.
I wouldn't told, and
Yeah, my 3-year-old, when it was time to leave the pool the other day, screamed so hard, and she doesn't normally do this. She screamed so hard, she vomited everywhere all over the changing room, and I was like, and I had the mums going, "Are you okay? Is there anything I can do?" And I was like, "Nope, she's just being an asshole right now.
No, let
nothing
her
I can do."
And there's nothing you can do.
there's nothing.
You can't talk him down.
No, it's insanity.
But my first
Like
one,
that.
I could.
Yeah, well, with the first one, you could threaten them. You could be like, right, Friday night movie night, it's not happening. My first was like, okay, geez. I mean, she would go, Daddy, look at what I did at school today. And I'd go, right, Friday night movie night's not happening. And James goes, so?
Yes. Yeah. Inara was so easy. Inara was so easy to manipulate. Even now at 7, she's so easy to manipulate. Fina, you'd be like, right, do you want to go on the naughty step? I don't care. Should I take this off you? I don't care. She's literally like, whatever.
That's exactly right. They are like that.
Yeah. You can't threaten them with anything.
You know what though? But I got to be honest. I mean, I want that in my girls.
Yeah.
You're always going to push them around.
But I want it later for her. I want her to be a no bullshit.
It's just,
no, it's true.
You just have to pray that you do not kill them in the meantime, because my daughter's 8 now. And I mean, she is like independent. She's independent to the point where she can kind of order for herself through the drive-through. She just got to that point, but she's very strong-willed. And I'm like, one day it will pay off. It's just, you better hope I don't kill your ass first.
Yeah, you better hope we don't kill you first. Yeah, that's right. Again, another long-winded answer. Actually, let me say this. I will say this. So our second we have 2 girls, right? Our second, Charlie and James. So James, I don't know how your guys' birthing experience was like, but we had a playlist, right? That was my job. And I think my wife knew if she kept me busy, I would be out of the way. And so we had a jam box, and I had my iPhone, and she would be pushing, and she would go, fucking the awesome mix from Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'd be like, yeah, fine, I find it, and I push it. And then she would go, Beyonce. And I'd be like, oh, okay, fine, Beyonce. Like, so she could call out tunes that she wanted while she was pushing.
That's amazing.
And so we had this special playlist. We had one for Charlie, which was a little more, sort of strangely, it was a little more rock and roll. And James's playlist was a little more calm. Mm-hmm. And the song that James came out to was Sweet Baby James by James Taylor. Oh. And so Megan said, she's a James. Which I was like, yeah, maybe. And we had spelled it J-A-M, like J-A-M-M-E-S. And I was like, I don't know, I can't do that. That's really pretty, I don't know. But my father's name is Jay. And so my mom brilliantly said, why don't you spell it J-A-Y-M-E-S? And then I was like, okay, yeah, we can do that. That sounds great.
That's lovely.
But that was Megan's. So she picked both of them because what you guys go through, she had the right to pick the names. I was like, she's like, I'm calling her James. I was like, you can call her whatever you want after what you just went through, baby. That's fine by me.
Right. Now, hopefully you remember this interview that you gave, because otherwise I'm going to sound like a crazy person. But what do you think of when I say the term fire-gelled cocksock?
It was season 3 in Budapest, and I had a naked fight with a guy, and it was they were gonna incinerate Michael because they'd given him that virus. No, he got sick, didn't he? And they were gonna incinerate him. And I remember walking through the fight with my stunt coordinator Bella, and so. And he's like, I've done. He wasn't Russian, but that's the closest thing. He was like, I've done many burns. It's very safe. You'll be very safe. We'll put lots of the fire gel on you, and it'll be fine. And I was like, Bella, I'm naked. And he was like, we will put more on you. It will be fine. It will be fine. So we had to put the cocksock on, and we had to put the fire gel. I put lots of fire gel on the guy because I was like, I'm not risking that. I'll risk everything else, but I'm not risking that. And then we had this little closed set. And we did the fight, and then it worked out all right, actually. It didn't get burned, which was great. But then I kind of had like a crazy, I don't know if it was the adrenaline, but I had like a crazy allergic reaction to the fire gel. So I had like this, I went all red for a while.
Oh, shit.
But it was, I don't know if because it's got a menthol smell, and it cools you down. It keeps you cool, right? But that was a strike back. That was another, here's an idea. Yeah, great. Let's do it.
Sounds like fun. Why not? Like the whole doing a scene in a river with a hell of a lot of bacteria and everyone getting diarrhea. That sounded like super fun.
That was season 3 as well. That was the same season. And it was funny because I think, season 3 on shows is notoriously like we've arrived. Like season 3, boom, the show's out there, people are watching it. And like there was a lot of, I think that both Sully and I did like a men's health thing and blah, blah, blah. But Sully wasn't as sick. I think Sully just has a steel gut. But MJ and I and my wife, and we were swimming in that river in that first episode. And geez, nothing was staying in. It was awful. And the doctors in Africa they were literally like, TIA, man, this is Africa. There's nothing we can do about it. You're a pussy. Basically, like, you got to toughen up. You're in Africa. And it was like, great.
This will kill you here.
Yeah, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But it did make us look great for our photo shoots because we were shredded.
Dehydrated.
We were dehydrated to within an inch of our life.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Ridiculous. How do you get ready for photo shoot? You get, I don't know, Giardia. It's great.
Well, there you go.
In Africa, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be good.
For legal reasons, anyone watching this, please do not do that if you have a photo shoot coming up, okay? Diet and exercise.
For legal reasons, bad idea.
Don't go lick a chicken breast, okay? Don't do it. Lick a raw chicken breast. Don't do it. So we have 2 questions we always like to ask our guests. The first one is, if you could remake any film using just the cast of the Muppets and one token human actor, like they usually do in their films, what film would it be? And which token human actor would you have? I know it's a mouthful.
That is a great question.
We like the hard-hitting stuff here.
You sent me the list, and I was like, yeah, cool. I didn't read it. I was like, yeah, they'll be fine. They'll be great.
This wasn't on the list. No,
we don't put that one on the list.
Okay. So So you have to replace the cast with the Muppets and one token human.
One, yeah.
It's really great. I think just for sheer entertainment value, and I'm not a huge fan of this movie, even though it's a wonderful movie, but I just would like to see the Muppets in it. I think I would do Silence of the Lambs.
Mm-hmm.
And my token human actor, it's so good. That's such a good question.
That'd be at your next dinner party.
I mean, that's really good. It's like a would you rather?
Yeah.
Love those. And token human actor would have to be, but I don't want to replace anyone in them. You can replace the humans in the movie with another human.
Anything you want.
Anything you want. There are really no rules. Because I want Miss Piggy to be Hannibal.
Oh.
And I want Kermit to be Clarice. Because that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe Animal is okay. So the human. Oh God. Can it just be the Muppets? I don't want to. I like.
You can just have the Muppets. It's fine.
The image of Muppets just running rampant in that movie.
That's fine.
Okay.
There are no rules on this podcast.
But
If
that
you
one-
want
that
just all
one's-
Muppets, we will
That's what I
give you all
like.
Muppets.
Great, all Muppets. Yeah. Silence of the Lambs with the Muppets.
Excellent. I love it.
I think that would be fun.
Excellent. It would be disturbing as fuck, but it would be great. It would be great.
So we had a road trip yesterday. I want to ask you guys a question. This one came up in the car because we had Seb, who's 9, and my daughter's 7. Would you rather fight a T-Rex with an AK-47 or a tiger with a broadsword?
Tiger with a broadsword.
See, okay, yeah. That was quick, Ashley. That was quick.
As soon as you said T-Rex, my mind started going, and you're talking about a gun, and I'm like, that's not going to do anything. At least I have a chance.
Yeah, right?
Oh,
Think, right? Yeah.
I think I'm taking the T-Rex because if Jurassic Park is correct, they're motion based. So I would just hide with my AK-47.
That was our argument. That's what...
nice.
I
Nice.
mean,
Yeah,
the
I was
tiger's gonna
thinking
sniff you
T-Rex.
out. The T-Rex is gonna be like,
I like that a lot.
If I'm going to go out and
Keira,
want something,
what do you think?
I want to fight though.
Well, I was thinking the tiger would have to rely on my ability to get it pointy end first, and I'm because like even if I just I've got to be pretty accurate with that, otherwise I'm cat food. So I'm thinking probably you can be less accurate with an AK-47.
Yeah.
And-
I think there definitely is. There were some rules, like it wasn't unlimited ammo. You had like 4 mags. So
Oh wow.
I mean, they were humongous. It would have felt like not even a bee sting.
Ashley,
You have to
you hide.
and then a lot of people were like, "Well, you get accurate. You shoot them in the mouth or in the eye."
Yeah, I was thinking
Yeah.
eye.
I thought kind of either way, you're probably gonna die. So I'd rather see the T-Rex and die. I'd rather just see it. If we're making up rules,
That's
I'd rather
true.
see a T-Rex.
And meanwhile,
That
Heather's
is
like,
true,
I'm just gonna
yeah.
hide and be a chicken, and you guys can like die, and I'll just be hiding behind the bush.
Okay, those are good. I'm glad you guys answered those. That's it.
I'm dead either way. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's right. So let's see the T-Rex.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, moving from that, the other question we like to ask people is realistically, how long do you think you'd survive in a zombie apocalypse? Do you have skills you're bringing to the table, or are you going to be a Heather and run and hide?
I mean, oh my gosh, it just happens in the world we live in. There's no prepping, although I kind of am prepped a little bit. That's a little, maybe. I would do okay. I've got enough ammo to last a while. And
okay.
I've got enough hardware to at least keep them at the door for a while.
Nice. Do you have an escape route planned?
I don't have an escape route plan now. That's probably the next step.
One guest we had, her husband has in his wallet folded up a tiny escape route out of LA without using freeways. Like he keeps it on his wallet all the time.
In LA, I would have one, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Because this is the thing. Like my dad's like kind of prep. He's kind of a prepper. And he's like, when it all goes wrong, this is where we're going to meet. I'm like, Dad, we live in Montana. What are you talking about?
Like, you're in a great
we live where everyone wants to come. There's no where do you want to meet. I'm like, you just come over here and have a burger, mate. Like we live where everyone's coming. Yeah. So, but LA, 100% I'd have a plan. 100%.
Yeah.
We had a. Can I say that? I had a mate on SVU, and we had a get out of New York plan. Just off the island. We had a get off the island plan.
You see that. Yeah.
And it involved a rib and Hudson and getting over to Brooklyn for sure, or Jersey, getting over to Jersey.
Girls, I think he needs to be on our team. I mean, the only reason we ask this is because we can collect people for our team if it ever does happen, and you're definitely on our team.
Right.
So we just need directions on a piece of paper on how to get to your place in Montana, and we're good.
Cool. Yeah, cool. I'm down with that. And it's funny, like, because with everything that's happened in the past 2 years, you like the zombie apocalypse. Well, yeah. But I tell you what,
wouldn't surprise me.
Shit really hit the fan the last 18 months, didn't it?
Yeah. Right.
It surprised me. Like,
yeah.
Mental. Yeah.
Every day Tony was praying for it to turn into zombie apocalypse. He's every day. Yeah, he was just like, come on. This shit needs to get more fun.
Yeah. There was a minute there, like I'll be careful how I say that because some people, anyway, there was a minute there where in the beginning of all that, like the beginning of COVID, there was a minute there I was like, oh shit. There was like a week for me where I was like, oh, like we had a decontamination grid in our garage where we get the mail. I can't believe I'm admitting this because I'm so not this way. I would get the mail with rubber gloves and I would put it on the Monday slot. If the Monday mail came in, I would put it on the Monday slot, and it had to gas off for a week before we could open it. Because in the beginning, remember, they were like, it lives for 72 hours on plastic, and even cardboard carries it. And if you look at someone who has COVID, your fucking eyes will fall out. And I was like, yeah, fuck. And so we washed our groceries like idiots. I washed our groceries. Oh my God, like all of it.
Yeah.
And now I feel
wash everything off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I can remember putting away the shopping and alcohol wiping everything, and yeah.
Yes. And then my wife brilliantly was like, Philip, you're being a dick. And she was like, stop. And she was like, look, if this is going to get us, I'd rather it just get us. But I'm not going to live my life like this. And she
before she killed you.
Yeah, before she killed me, exactly.
Yeah,
I was like, but anyway, so like, yeah, there was a second there where I can see your hubby was like, yeah, the zombie apocalypse, man, it's coming.
Oh my God, you have been.
I'll get in trouble for all of that. There's someone out there who's like, yeah.
Who cares? We don't want him.
It's over. I haven't left the house for 2 years. God, I feel so sorry for those people. I mean, there is a whole world happening out there right now. It's like, I feel so bad. Sorry, okay, that's enough. I will get in big trouble for that. Okay.
No, it's fine. You have been a bloody delight. Yeah. Thank you so much for engaging in my ridiculous questions. We have found out so much about you.
Those. That was great.
It's just, I will pass you on to Ashley now, and I'm just going to sit here and be like, day made.
Those were great. I love that.
Okay.
So I was start off asking all our guests where they are from and where they grew up at.
So I'm from 8 miles down the road in a little town called Belgrade, Montana.
Okay.
I was born to my mother's British and my father's American.
Okay.
And so I actually grew up. I had a really, when you're 17, 18, you're like, childhood. But looking back, I had an amazing, amazing childhood. I was raised between a town of 4,000 people and London. And so I had this really neat, and I'm 41 years old. So 35, 37 years ago, we were traveling all the time. And that wasn't as normal as it is now, especially from like a little podunk town in the middle of Montana. And so I remember in like first grade, kindergarten, second grade, we would go to London for the summer break. And it was a really big deal. Like the teachers would ask, how was it? And we would bring back postcards from Harrods and double-decker bus statues. And it was a different world. And we didn't have the internet. You didn't have any of that stuff where you could, this is what it is. It's this. It was all in books and all in movies. And so it was a really, really brilliant upbringing. I was very fortunate to have the upbringing I did. Just so culturally different. I grew up basically, my father, his father, my grandpa Dwight, was a rancher and had anywhere between 80 and 100 and 150 head of cattle. And so I grew up helping him on the ranch. And then London. It was great. I mean, just incredible.
Just two different,
totally different worlds.
All right. And then, so how did you get into acting? What inspired that?
So my dad, Jay, he was going to Montana State University, which is in Bozeman. And he was studying theater. One of his classes was theater. And I don't think he realized how much he enjoyed it. One of his best friends that he met in the class was the professor named Joel Janke. Joel Janke started a program in Montana called Montana Shakespeare in the Parks. So I grew up going all summer to see these Shakespeare plays, and it was literally Shakespeare in the park. There would be the park down the road, they'd build their little stage, and you would see all the different, the complete works of Shakespeare. And so I grew up with an understanding of the theater community and of the types of people that actors are, and solving, and also the stories, these incredible stories that Shakespeare wrote. Some people believe it was Shakespeare. These incredible stories that Shakespeare wrote. And that's how you solve problems. You would, language was part of the answer to everything, and sword fighting. And it was an amazing childhood. So my mother was working nights at the time. My parents were incredible people. Like scrappers, came from nothing. We were living in a trailer. My dad was washing dishes at a place called the apple tree restaurant, and my mother was working nights. When my dad wasn't working there, I went with my dad to the theater, and I grew up. It's a long-winded answer. I grew up backstage with my dad. So I grew up backstage at Montana State University in the Strand Union Theater, it was called. I just thought that was normal, you know,
Yeah.
and it was the whole package. It was rehearsal and a bare stage, and then watching them build the sets, and then watching them rehearse, and watching them, you know, craft their characters and hone them and bring them in. And I would watch my dad go through that process as well. And I made a decision really young. I was like, I want to do that. And I think in my younger years, I wanted to do it for the right reasons. I wanted to do it because of the community. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that as I got older, and then you become a teenager and you're a dickhead. And I wanted to be famous. And then I got my ass handed to me in London when I went to drama school. And rightly so. But then I think graciously through the process of it's kind of come full circle. And one of the greatest privileges now to do a show is for the people. It's the greatest thing in the world when you get to work with like-minded people. And if you're lucky enough to be on a job like Strike Back, where we didn't have a lot of resources, but we had people who wanted to make it work and were smart about it. So the creative process was really primed and just geared towards, we don't have the money, let's fix it with creativity. So it's kind of come full circle, and just the meaning of life is relationships, right? And I feel like in a theater community, on a movie, on a TV set, it's all about, that's what it is. You just have this little micro community, and you're really intensely working towards the same goal for X amount of hours, X amount of days, and then it's over. And it's just super intense. And I think that that's sort of been mirrored. I've been so lucky that's been mirrored in my career and in my life. I was just able to, and it's funny how you figure things out when you have interviewers who are kind enough to ask decent questions. You kind of go, oh, maybe that's all a part of it. You know, it's coming, you're realizing why you do these things.
So, and you briefly talked about that you trained in London. So how did you navigate that being from America? Did you want to only become an actor in England for a little bit, or did you try in America? How was that process?
It was it was my parents and my naivety. I think the combination of the both of those. I was pretty, I guess you could say I was pretty sheltered growing up. My mom really protected me because she had remarried, and my dad, Jay, he's actually my stepdad, but he's my dad. He's taught me to ride a bike and shoot a gun, and taught me to train the dogs, and he took me to the ranch, so there was that sort of core wound in there from not knowing who my biological dad was. And my mom, in the process, because it was just the two of us for years before she met Jay, we became best friends, right? That was just her and I. And so we navigated that the only way we knew how. In doing so, we probably got enmeshed in each other deeper than we should have. And obviously that's just the way it is. And so I was sheltered. And so when I started to tear away, I could see how damaging that was to my mother and damaging to the household. And again, you're a teenager, so you're a dickhead. And I wish it didn't have to go that way, but it did. And then I had said, look, I'm going to be an actor. I didn't sit my SATs. I didn't sit my ACTs, like the equivalent of O levels and A levels in the UK, right? I was like, I'm going to be an actor. This is what I'm going to do, because I was lazy. And somehow, by the grace of God, I got into a decent drama school, and then I started working. And so if that hadn't happened, I had nothing to fall back on. So I, as a senior in high school, thinking I had it all sorted out, I said to my mom and dad, I want to be an actor. And my mom said, then you're moving to London and you're going to drama school in London. And I just went, fine, I will, And not really knowing what I was signing up for, except I knew there was an adventure and I knew that it would be good for me. It was difficult because I was dating love of my life, who I actually ended up marrying, Megan. And so there was that Romeo Juliet stuff to deal with, and especially when you're 18 years old and it's everything, and it's But I moved to London. I think I moved to London 3 days after I graduated from high school, and I never came back. We moved back 10 years ago to raise our family here, but I auditioned for several drama schools. The first place I auditioned, I don't know if Heather and Ashley, if you guys will know the drama school system in the UK, but my first audition was for a place called, it was the Drama Center. So Tom Hardy went to Drama Center, and it has like a notorious audition process. Mm-hmm. And again, I was kind of, I don't know if I was a big fish in a little pond, but 18, going to London, gonna get into drama school, and went in and just got my ass handed to me. Like literally to the point where I think they stopped my audition and they said, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I'm doing Zeus Story and Henry V," and they were like, "Yeah, go away and come back in like 6 years." And I was just like, "Oh shit!" And I remember because my grandmother, who's my biggest fan and just she's been this incredible force in my life, was waiting outside in a little white Toyota. And I came out and I was just like, I was mortified, right? I was so embarrassed because I was living with her. She had a bed and breakfast, was living at the bed and breakfast for free, doing farm work to make, to pay for my living. And I came out and I was like, she was, "How did it go?" I was like, "Oh, Grandma, it was, who knows? Gosh, we'll just wait for the letter, won't we? Fuck." And, and so I just remember I remember being mortified. I remember being like, I can't do this. This isn't, so that was the first big no I'd really ever been told in my life, right? But I had Central School of Speech and Drama, Lambda, RADA, and then Webber Douglas, I think, was another one. And she was like, "Well, you've got 4 more, lots of chances." And so I went into those with a much different attitude. And I think, God, I'm just rambling here, but I think being a parent now, what I want to do with my daughters particularly is, by all means, give them everything that I had, but also give them the opportunities to experience the things that I didn't have as well. Because I think we want to spoil them so much. We want to take care of them so much. The greatest disservice I can do to my girls is not prepare them for the world, because if I send them out there, the world will take care of you, but it's never kind. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I realized, you can look back on your life and go, geez, I was so lucky to make it out of those experiences, because I think a lot of people would have shut down, but I had family, amazing family. And Megan and I were, writing letters to each other on that airmail blue paper, and buying phone cards at Quickways and calling each other on the weekends. And so a long-winded way, I ended up, I think Lambda was my last audition. And I went in sort of, I think I went in quite, I went in with a much more meek, in the sense of like, okay, I'll do this differently. And sort of, I did it a little, I did a tamer version of what I had prepared for the other places. And I had a really great chat with the head of the drama department there, Rodney. And man, again, just lucked out. I mean, the universe was watching out, because looking back, I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, the talent that is coming out of the younger generation now is astounding, because the technology we have is enabling them to navigate the stuff that really happens in the real world when you're making movies, and you can do it on your bloody phone. We didn't have that. And again, I was lazy, I was cocky, and I went in, I was like, "Oh, we got this." And somehow Rodney saw something and was like, "I can work with this." But then even at drama school, like I almost got kicked out of drama school the first 2 years, really. I would sit down in the meetings and they'd be like, "What are you doing here?" And I'd be like, I don't know. What do you mean? just terrible. And I look back at that time so embarrassed, because of course, the other thing you don't realize when you're so involved in yourself and you're so self-centered, you don't see anything. You can't see the forest for the trees. Now you bump into these people all the time, because that's the profession. The profession is really small. And you just, sometimes you meet people and you're like, oh, I'm sorry. Hi. Yeah. Hi, remember me? But I mean, I've been working on it. Oh, God. So it was a long-winded way of saying, like, London in the combination with an incredible family and the ability to have the space to work through things allowed me to be in the place that I am now. But without it, I have no idea where I'd be. I mean, really. I mean, I think as much as I hated drama school because it was discipline and it was all the things I was railing against as I rolled up my lucky stripes in my sleeve, fuck you. It taught me to have a base. It taught me to have a foundation to go back to. And that's the thing I fall on every time I get an audition, like today, I got 7 pages of stuff to learn. And it's like, what do? You sit down, I have to drag myself into my office, learn those lines cold, send out a tape and wait. You know what I mean? But it's just like that discipline that drama school taught was really game changing. And I'm really grateful for it. I didn't question at all, but yeah. Okay.
No, you did actually a lot of things. But since you're kind of talking about how you handle your auditions and things like now, I was going to pass you over to Heather, if that's okay, Heather, so you can kind of dig into that a little bit more.
Oh, yeah, no, that's great. I actually wrote down, remember to circle back to, because that's one of the questions I ask is, how do you, when you get those auditions, how do you prepare for them? What is your process like?
Yeah, so I'll get an email about an audition, and you get a synopsis of what it's about, and you're like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. So I read the script, and then I actually try to read the script without knowing the character. I try and like get through the email and just get the script, because I don't want to have any preconceived ideas. And it doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes you see it pop up right away, and then I print out the sides, and what do? I have a sort of a strange process. I don't use a highlighter. I kind of mark with black pen on the side of each of my lines, and then I learn them cold, because I can't do it any other way. And I have to, and that unfortunately for me just means I have to sit at this desk and I have to learn lines I learn in 45-minute chunks. So I'll learn for 45 minutes and I take a 15-minute break, and I learn for 45 minutes and take a 15-minute break. And I can do that and add to the process probably 3 times. And after 3 times, my brain's just like, and I learn best in the morning. So I try to get up early in the morning and do it. And then that's too, because it's the discipline to protect the rest of the day. And if the kids say, Dad, can we do this? You can say, sure. You're not tied down to your audition. But it's really sterile. I wish there was a secret that was like mind blowing. For me, it is literally dragging myself in here. It's the discipline to sit at this desk and look at those damn lines. Because if I'm in front of the camera, even if it's a self tape, like back in the day when we would go in the room and meet people, if I don't have them perfectly, I hate that. I hate that feeling. And I'm the same on set. I have to learn my lines dead cold. Then you work with someone who's Sully, who doesn't give a shit, and he's still brilliant. And you're like, yeah, you're like, so you learn to work with all these different people. Yeah.
I'd love to get Sully on and then hear his answer to the question.
Yeah, exactly. How do you learn for stuff? Well, I don't even read it, darling.
Just say what comes to mind.
He's great.
Were you about to ask something, Ashley? You looked like you were going to ask something.
I was just going to say, but I love hearing people say, like, mine is, just very, this is how it is. Like, I just learn my lines. Because I feel like sometimes you hear these like brilliant, ways, which is amazing. You're like, God, why can't I learn that way? Or, but you never know what style resonates. And that's why we always ask that question, because I find every time we asked it, it's just slightly different, or sometimes it's greatly different, but for everybody has their own way. And I think that's
right.
What we're trying to say, like, this may, especially with like learning, because a lot of my training and Heather's training, has been UK based. So when I take American classes, sometimes it's a little bit like, no, we do it this way. So I'm like, wait, what way do I do it? I've got like my books and
it's so like personalized. That. And I think if you allow yourself the grace to make the mistakes to find your path, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it is so different because it's so personal. I find the more I do it, the better I get at decoding what's in the words and allowing a character to be built out of those words. So I guess to go into it a little further, I learn the lines first, and I see it like a human body, if that makes sense. So the words are the skeleton, and then the more I learn the words, the more the nervous system gets built, the muscles get built, and then everything around that character gets built. And then even if I'm in my office shooting, I shoot against this wall right here. Shoes are always a big one for me. How I connect with the ground. So if it's I found myself when the COVID stuff happened and we were in here, I was like barefoot, and I realized the characters were feeling a lot different because I was in here, it was kind of doing the Zoom thing, bare feet and shorts and blah blah blah. But I was like, no, these characters need to wear boots. That matters. And so shoes for me are a big one, and I kind of build them from the ground up.
Oh, that was good. That was really good. Like Ashley said, it's good to hear all the different perspectives, and those are things that some people don't necessarily think about, but might be helpful for them. Is you know, just even like the shoes or what the character, would be wearing.
Sure.
So this is one question that Ashley usually asks, but I'm going to ask it. So we backtrack a little bit, and that's just like, what was your harshest audition? And if it was your drama school one, then that's fine. Like we can stick with that one. And then your best audition that you've had.
Oh my goodness, guys. There are a few that stand out to me early on in coming out of drama school. So I was incredibly fortunate. I managed to, I was given a great role the first play in the third year of drama school. So the third year of drama school for us at Lambda was all showcase. And I was given this great role. I was playing the Master in The Master and Margarita, which is this beautiful modern day fairy tale. Mikhail Bulgakov wrote it. It's a beautiful book. And the adaptation was done by Helena Kauthausen was the director. And so I got through that play and through Helena's direction, I got a lot of requests from London-based agencies. And I would go out. So I rode a motorbike in drama school. So I would go out at lunchtime. You weren't supposed to do this at drama school. I would go out and I would have meetings at lunchtime. I'd meet with all the different casting directors and the agents. And I picked an agent, and I'm still with her today. She's brilliant. Her name is Jane Epstein. She's at, it used to be ICM, but it's independent talent in the UK. And she started sending me out on auditions. And so I would get on my motorbike at lunchtime, and I would go out and I would meet casting directors, and I would start learning the process of what it meant to be an actor, and like the real stuff. Like, this is what it is. You're getting taught this at drama school, and now this is the application over here. And so I was so lucky to have that. And I was 21 years old, popping around London, meeting casting directors. And again, like, I think there was still that little bit of me that I was dragging in from Montana, which might have appealed to some of it, but to some of the casting directors. And so I was given these opportunities to do really American pieces in the UK. And I think they saw me as something that I really wasn't. I'm not actually that big. I'm like I'm 6'1", I'm like $180. But at that time, I worked out and I took care of myself. That wasn't a thing that people did, I guess. And so I was put up for all these sort of crazy American roles in British shows. And they'd be like, yeah, man, like, why don't you take your shirt off and like, just, do a bit of a thing. And I was like, yeah, fucking why not, man? Like, let's go. And I know there's a few tapes out there floating around of me being right numpty. And just like, and why don't you, and whether they were taking the piss, which they very well could have been, but I was too American to notice. Why don't you take your shirt off and just improvise? And I was like, yeah, why don't I do that? So I know that there's a few of those. Rocking around out there. So those stand out. I can't remember their names specifically, but there's definitely a couple of those knocking around in a attic in Soho in some casting director's house somewhere.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say now when we can't get in touch with Keira the next week, Ashley, that's what she's gonna be working on. She's gonna be like, I'm gonna go for a hike, and she's gonna be
I have to go find those tapes. Okay, so best. My goodness. And I think, obviously, I think the correlation between best usually would mean that I got it, but I don't know necessarily. The process to get, I did a year with the Royal Shakespeare Company. Trevor Nunn directed King Lear and the Seagull. We started in Stratford-upon-Avon, and then we went to Newcastle and Singapore and Australia and New Zealand and New York and LA, and then we finished in the West End. It was the most incredible year as a young actor. I was 25, 26 when we did it. But the process of auditioning for Trevor Nunn and the Royal Shakespeare Company was really, it was just an amazing process. The first meeting was in this weird building, and I think we were just behind Carnaby Street somewhere, and there was it was the basement of I think like a company that did dustbin services, and then I was like, this can't be the right place, and so, but it was the right place. So I went up, I met Trevor Nunn in this really room. I was really jet lagged, and I remember meeting him purposely with a British accent, because at drama school, that's where I was like, fine, I'll be British for 3 years, just be British, so I can get British work. And I was lucky it worked out, but I'd always had it in my ear because of my mom, blah, blah, blah. So I walked in and he said, but you're American, right? And then I swapped to American. And I said, yeah. I'm like, I just got off a flight, but I thought, it's for this English thing. And he went, you're Edmund. And so I think he had cast me right there, but he wanted to make sure I could do the verse and the text. And so he pulled me back for a recall, and we worked through thou nature art my goddess, to thy law my services are bound. Yeah. Wherefore should I stand in the plague of custom? Permit the curiosity of nations to deprive me. And we worked through this speech together. And I was so fortunate to work with him and to work with, sorry, turn my phone off here, and Ian McKellen and William Gaunt and just so many, Francis Barber. I mean, like it was incredible. And I think this is a little addendum to that I think that was my best audition, or my most memorable audition. But we did a month of table work for Lear and Seagull, a month where we didn't do a damn, we didn't get up, we didn't put it on its feet. And it was basically a month of Ian McKellen, Trevor Nunn, telling stories about being in theatre in London and the West End and traveling the world. And that experience for me stands out. I've been so lucky, but that month around a table we were in like Clapham. That was gold. You know what I mean? That was just like, that was incredible.
Wow.
So anyway.
That's when you wish like you had an iPhone where you could just record.
Oh my,
not record.
That's right. I mean, the stuff that I've missed that I don't remember from that, but it was beautiful. That was truly beautiful, truly a gift.
So I like to ask how you prepare for days on set, but specifically because you do have a family, how did you prepare for the long periods of time that you were off shooting? How did you prepare for that and get through that and just kind of deal with being away?
Heather, that's a great question. It is an ongoing process, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I spent I've been lucky enough to be doing this for 20 years. Megan and I had Charlie in 2015, so it was the year after Strike Back. Is that right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we went immediately into The Player and Chicago Justice and SVU. To be honest with you, every job is different. Every group of people is different. The text is always different. The character's demand is always different. If you're number one on the call sheet, you set an alarm at night so you can get 8 hours of sleep. I would set an alarm on the weekend. I mean, it's sad, really. I mean, and because I work the way I work and I have to know my lines cold, I'd have to give so much time to my script outside of my work hours, which are, 16-hour days on network television. It's just bonkers. The family got second fiddle, and it did. It's easy to compartmentalize and say, but I'm providing for them and their future and this and that. But over the course of the last few years, especially since leaving SVU and being able to do
smaller projects, more kind of projects that, you know, people are really passionate about that take 5-6 weeks, where I've either been able to do it myself for 5 or 6 weeks or take my family. Those have been incredible. And so I'm sort of at this point in my career where I'm toying with, how does it look to do, the work always wins, do great work, but also be a dad and a husband, because I'm going to lay down with my 7-year-old for the last time one day, and then she won't ask me to lie down with her. I'm going to, you know, James is going to come upstairs and not say, Dad, can you shave my face? Why are you shaving your face? Those days will end, and it's not my choice, it's their choice. And I miss him because I'm just working 90 hours a week. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It on one level, it's a horrific thing to think about, that you don't get that option, but we have to pay the bills and we have to do those things. So to each job comes its own challenge. Looking back, like with Player, I mean, Megan was responsible for my relationship with Charlie. So she would drive her up the 5 to see me on set, and she would see me a couple times a week at lunchtime. And then, as you know, on network you get a 12-hour turnaround. So by Wednesday, usually we'd be going in at 10 or 11, and then you'd be shooting a Friday on Friday. I would be able to see her in the mornings and spend a little more time with her, but you're exhausted. If you're number one on a show, network show particular, a network drama, you are warped. You're warped. And then I went into Chicago Justice, and I'm not a fucking lawyer. Listen, I am so grateful to Dick Wolf. I'm so grateful to the team over there. I'm grateful to Michael Chanuchin and everyone who was like, you're the guy, you're Peter Stone. And they saw something in me that I, to be frank, did not see at all. But it demanded everything. Mm-hmm. It demanded everything. So if I wasn't on set, during setups, I was in my office on set learning lines. And then when I got in the car, I was learning lines. And then when I got home, I would eat. I would fuel. It wasn't even eating a meal. You'd call it fueling. And I would go to, and my alarm would go off, and it's like, fuck, it's 9 o'clock. I got to go to bed. I got to preserve my 8 hours. So I just didn't have a relationship with them. And then every once in a while, you'd get a late call or an early call, and I could do bedtime. And, you know, God, those moments are just priceless. And look, there's always a cost in life, right? Mm-hmm. Always. And with what we do, it's always relational. It just is. You have that family that we talked about earlier on set, and the crew, the cast, but you're gonna pay for it somewhere. Mm-hmm. And you know, that's why you see just problems from top to bottom in the industry, because we idolize, rightly or wrongly, the pursuit of what we're doing, whether it's a perfectionist attitude, whether it is actual idolatry, and we're like, well, no, that thing is the most important thing in the world. Something's got to give, right? You can't give everything 100%. And man, relationships are the ones that always take it on the chin. And that's the hardest wrestle. Having a substantial amount of time off now, that's the biggest wrestle in my life. Because getting comfortable, that's also dangerous. Because I don't want to be comfy that I'm not actively ragdolling something and getting after it. But I also have a family that matters more to me than anything I could ever do or ever have done in the business. So what's the balance, right? And it's day to day. It honestly is. I mean, that is just a day-to-day struggle.
Yeah, it's ongoing. And it doesn't get better 100%. When they get older. It's just like more shit.
Interesting. Like, yeah. Interesting. Right. Like bigger kids, bigger problems, right?
Yep. Making time to go visit at college, and you know, it's always.
Someone put it to me really beautifully. I have a friend who put it to me that it's a volume control. And so like the volume control over on my stereo, when I'm working, volume is up high on work. And when I get in that car and I walk in the door, I have to make a choice to turn it down on work and turn it up on my family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you have to cognitively make that choice and that decision, because otherwise you can just numbly get through it. And that's horrible too. And you don't always do it, but sometimes when you do, you're like, okay. And I'm really grateful. I have an amazing partner in my wife, Megan, who will who will hold me accountable to that and will call me out if I'm missing the boat on that. And that's an incredible gift. Don't always want to hear it, but she'll be like, hey, mate, you need to, I don't know where you're going to find it, but you need to be a dad for a minute. And it's like, okay, noted. Thanks, babe. And she's also like, don't forget you're my husband.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. But it's day to day, right?
So what what piece of advice would you give to someone in the entertainment industry? They could be just starting out, something you wish you had known, or even somebody farther along in their career. What's the one piece of advice that you just want to tell and share?
Yeah. Man, these are wonderful. I think, you know, connecting right to what I was discussing, this stuff that we do is important. Telling stories is important. Allowing people the luxury of going on a journey for a couple hours or 3 hours if it's Shakespeare or a Peter Jackson movie. That's a real gift. It's a real talent, and it's a real privilege to be involved in those kind of processes. But they're not going to last. They're just not. As good as everything is that you've ever seen, it's over. When it's over, it's right. And what do you have in front of you? You have your friends and you have your family. You got your kids. I mean, we said earlier, the meaning of life is relationships is a mantra from a friend of mine. And it's so stupidly simple, but so stupidly difficult to actually live that. And then I think to add into that, 99% of life is showing up, right? I think I certainly put so much in the camp of my career early on. And I mean, look, it paid off. For some people it doesn't. I put so much in that camp, and I had the gift of people around me who could say, yeah, but look, good for you, but have you played with your daughter for a week? Have you done any of that stuff? Have you gone on a date with your wife for a month? You know, that stuff, it really matters, because this stuff is just, it's dust, right? There's nothing new under the sun. It's fleeting. Fuck me, we're so lucky to do it. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that this stuff will all be gone one day and it won't matter. And I think when we're lying on our deathbeds, I'm not going to say, God dang it, I wish I would have done another season of SVU. I'm going to say, I can't believe I missed my best friend's wedding to do a guest spot on fucking Miami, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
That shit doesn't, you don't get to do that again. So there's a fine line. And again, like, you got to break in, you got to be disciplined, you got to hustle. And then there's the, you know, like we talked about volume, like, and I'm, by goodness gracious me, I'm just spewing this. I don't by any means get this right all the time, but like, there's that thing of, I want to be a dad. I want to be a husband. I got to pay bills. I don't want to get comfortable, but you know, and you're like, how do you make those noises live in some symbiotic thing? I don't know. I don't know. But we're all, you know, the only way to figure it out, I think, is to talk about it.
Yeah.
And the only way to get better at it is to hang around like-minded people and go, what's your journey? What have you found that works? And that, man, there's hope in that, right? Because even if it doesn't last forever, you can go, I'm going to try that. I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to get sober, or I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to get off social media. Or I'm going to do this thing over here. I'm going to try these things and see what their impact is. And if they're positive, I'm going to hold on to them. You know?
That's great advice. I like that, you know, like reflecting on that. And then what would be your 3 words to describe your career thus far?
Man, 3 words to describe my career thus far. I've been lucky. I think there's that great quote. I think it's used quite a bit, but like, the harder you work, the luckier you get. You know, I do love that quote, because in hard work and in discipline, there is freedom. It's not just, you know, there used to be, back in the early days, throwing as much at the walls to see what sticks. And you got to do that when you're a young actor. And there's no shame in that at all. You do it all. Like pilot season used to be, I mean, I can remember doing 5 auditions a day. You're living in your car, you're just driving all over LA, and you're just like, you're ramming lines down your throat and you're doing stuff. And so the harder you work, the luckier you get. So luck, but out of a place of luck, discipline, and right now it's stillness. Because I think I've had a career where there's stillness in between what I do, and that I haven't always seen it as a gift. I'm seeing it as a gift now because I know the phone will ring one day. We're doing everything we can to make other things happen, and you have to have hope in that, right? You have to have hope in your body of work. You have to have hope in the process. And so, yeah, I think maybe those 3 words at the moment, because it's not over. You know, even though it's been still for quite a while, like the longest we've ever had time off for sure. But again, in that, my daughter, James, we dropped Charlie off at school. We were walking back through the alley, and she goes, "Dad, do you want to go for a walk?" That's how she talks, James. I said,
She's Russian.
Yeah, I want to go for a walk. I don't know, why would I say no?
Yeah.
Let's go for a walk.
Well, I love how you
moments.
said, oh, go ahead.
No, go on.
I was gonna say, I love how you said stillness, because I think you're like the second or third person who has said to cherish the moments of quiet. Yeah. So I think that's amazing.
Well, thanks, Heather. I haven't thought about that. It's so amazing, the gift of something like this long form discussions, because I mean, I left SVU, and when I left SVU, I left a world that I've known for, I mean, 7, 8 years, which was leading shows, leading from the front, driving hard every day, getting a month or 2 off, and then starting over again. And when I left that world, I didn't know I'd be gone for as long as I have been. And so the little blips that have come up, the little independent movies, helping a friend out here and there, they've made me realize what a gift this is, what a gift the jobs are, and a gift those relationships are. But really what this time is, for whatever reason, whoever thinks I need it, this is about my family and my wife. And so I can't, as much as I want to wrestle with that, because I am I love working, and I'm a guy, like that's like original sin in us, right? Like we'll work till we're dead. Like that's what we do. And with guys, it really gives us purpose, and it really gives us our identity, rightly or wrongly. I'm learning to put my identity as an actor a little bit to the side and just it's okay that I'm just a dad right now. I'm an actor when those lines are learned, and I'm an actor when I'm in front of that camera, but it's okay to just be a dad right now. That's really hard to admit, but also I don't get to choose when that day flips and the phone rings, and I don't get to be a dad as much as I am right now. So that's the prayer and the mantra in life right now is, okay, this is what it is, so be it. And we'll keep kind of one step at a time in this path as long as we can. Yeah, and it's I think that I take it very seriously because of my dad. My biological dad didn't stick around, and I never met him. So I'm like, there's times where I'm like, God dang it, like my girls have healed me of my daddy wounds. Yeah. In moments that are just like moments that if you're not ready, you would have missed it. Like driving to the dog park, and so, Charlie the other day goes, I think it was probably like in December, we had a nice day, we're driving to the dog park. She goes, "Hey Dad." And I thought she was going to make a fart joke or something. And she goes, "I love you," out of the blue. And you just go, pull over.
I'm okay.
And just, and he didn't, I'm not mad at him anymore, but he didn't give himself the opportunity for that. Yeah. It's like, man, that's your fault, man. It's your fault. Yeah. So this is a gift. It really is.
I really love that you shared this part too, because I feel like as women, we get asked all the time how we manage both of trying to be an actor and, being a mother. So it's a little bit humbling to me, I'll be honest, to hear from a father's perspective of it? Because I'm always like, I feel like we get asked that question, like, how can you do both? Or, you know, like if I'm on set, they're like, who's taking care of your kids? And you're
Right.
like,
That's so unfair. I mean,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I'm really, I mean, thank you for sharing that. Like,
Sure, actually, yeah. It's. I mean, it comes from. I probably wouldn't have had that answer 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I was in it, right? So I'd have been like, well, right now it's about storing, you know, filling the war chest and making this work, and now the volume's really down on that and really high on family. So, well, thank you, Ashley. I mean, I think I can't imagine getting asked that all the time, because it's like, what do you mean? Like, I have a life too. Yeah, but there's so much identity wrapped up in that. My wife, we talk about that often.
Yeah.
The identity and the role of being a mom.
Right. Well, again, we want to thank you for your time. I know you took so much of it, but we really, really appreciate it.
Yes. Well, you have been an absolute amazing guest. I mean, I feel this is going to be one of those mega episodes like we did with MJ, where it's just like an hour and a half. We don't bother to edit anything out because it was just all gold. Sometimes we get an interview that's like 45 minutes, and then sometimes we get one like with MJ, and with you it's like an hour and a half, and it's like, I don't want to. Nothing's going to get cut because it was all freaking awesome.
It's great questions, guys. I mean, it comes from you guys. It comes from the source. So thanks for asking such great questions and for allowing me to ramble.
Yeah,
you're so welcome.
Well, that was like,
thank you.
Our idea was to, you know, get into like the individual stories of the people. So
I feel we've had such an insight into your life and your journey and your priorities and how they've changed as your career has changed, which is just wonderful. Because I think, especially when you're younger, you have this image in your head of this is what it's going to be and this is what I'm going to focus on. And you, like you said, you miss all the amazing little bits. And it, like Ashley said, it's so lovely to hear it from a man's point of view, because we get it all the time. We're juggling businesses, we're juggling new events, we're juggling, you know, new enterprises we're doing, and young children, and it's a lot. So it's nice to know that the men feel it too.
Well, it's, you know, it's really, again, an overused turn of phrase, but it's the journey, not the destination.
Absolutely, 100%.
You guys are brilliant. Thank you.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you. You've been amazing.